Hey guys, Tristan here. I got my 2017 Honda CRF250L. I'm just over 1,000 miles, so I'm gonna do another oil change on it. This will be the last oil change I'll do for a while, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do it, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so first we're gonna go over what you need to do this. So I ordered up the Honda 250L filter. This is straight from Honda. With that, I also got the gasket that goes right in between here, because you don't want to reuse that one. It's not going to really work, or it may work, but it's better to have the new one. It's like $2, so might as well buy it new. Washer. This is the oil that I'll be using now. Is the 10W30. Before I was using the one that was made for Honda. It was 10W30 HP, made from Honda, but I'm gonna switch over to this because it should be a little bit more smooth switching from second and third gear. And lastly, you're gonna need some gloves and a ratchet. You're gonna need a 12 mil and a 8 mil. So that is all you're gonna need to do an oil change. Oh, and something to catch the oil in, which I got an oil pan here. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so what we're first gonna do is we're gonna remove the oil drain plug, which is right underneath here. See if I can get the proper angle for it. I don't think so. Maybe. Right there, that hole. The oil drain plug is right up in there. So what we gotta do is remove that bolt, and then the oil is gonna start flowing down to that, into our oil drain pan. Just a little tip guys, run your bike just for, I don't know, like a minute or two, just to get that oil a little bit warmer so it'll drain out faster. That's just a little tip guys. I already did that, so let's get into removing that bolt. All right, so you're gonna use your 12 mil socket guys. Get underneath there to remove the oil drain plug. It's on there pretty good. But just loosen up a little bit, and this is why you wear gloves guys, so you don't get oil all over your fingers and your hand. So we're just gonna loosen up that bolt. Oh, and here's that bolt guys right here. Got a little oil on the gloves, but that's what they're for. Drain that off. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let that oil drain. It should probably take a couple minutes guys, so if you want to do, just go inside and do whatever. Just take a little break. So we're gonna let that drain out. Okay guys, so the oil just finished draining. What you want to do now is you can tilt your bike up for it to be like straight up and down, and that's gonna allow more of the oil to come out, since it was sitting kind of slanted from sitting on its kickstand. So just tip it up straight like this, and then more oil will drain out. So just hold it there for a little bit and let that do its work. And once that's done, we'll move over to the other side and we'll get on to the next step, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over to this side of the bike now. I have some napkins here so I can set down the bolts and the cover, and set the old oil filter there. But this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna need your 8 mil socket, and we're gonna loosen these 4 bolts here, and that's gonna let us get to our oil filter. They're usually not that tight. They're pretty easy to take out. So I got them all loose, and now I'm gonna just use my hand to unthread the rest. Make sure your oil drain is still underneath, because there is gonna be some remaining oil from the oil filter that's gonna drain out. So we're just gonna take out all of these. Set them right there. As you can see, the oil's still coming out of there because of the oil that was in the oil filter from running it. So there is some oil draining underneath my bike here. I'll clean that up after all this. It's not that big of a problem, guys. Just so you don't get worried if it's happening to your bike. Okay, so we got one more bolt to take out of here. And make sure you don't let this piece, guys, spring out, because there is a spring kind of pushing it against it that's hooked up to the oil filter. So we're gonna take this out. Don't let that spring fall in the oil. So there we go. See, there's a spring that I'm talking, guys, right here. It'll fall out. But that just goes right in there, and I'm gonna set this down. And now the simple part, guys, all you gotta do is pull the oil filter out just like that. And then you can discard this. There's gonna be some oil in it if you shake it of whatnot, but I'm gonna set that aside. So here's your gasket right here. You are gonna wanna put a new gasket on. You don't wanna even try using the old one. So even though it may look perfectly fine, you're still gonna wanna use a new one. So I'm gonna put that aside, and let's open up the rest of the stuff. Okay guys, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab some towels. I'm just gonna get the remaining oil out of there. And you can see that oil that was just draining out. It's nice and black. And that's only from like 500 miles too. So, because I think it's recommended to, well, technically you don't have to change your oil, guys, for a couple thousand when you just buy it brand new. But I'm kind of a freak about that, so when I buy it new, I do an oil change every 500 miles. So at 500 I did an oil change, and now I'm doing another one just over 1,000. And then after this one I can wait a while. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our oil filter. We're gonna take it out of the bag here. Here we are. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna plop it right on in there. Make sure that's good and snug. It's not gonna fall out. We got our gasket here, which this isn't doesn't have an opening, so always take your handy dandy knife, and we're gonna cut that open. Okay, so we got the oil filter here. So what you can, guys, do, what you want to do is take a little oil on your finger, rub it around the filter, not filter, guys, the gasket, my mistake. Rub it around the gasket. You should use your new oil to do it, but I'm just gonna use the old because it's not too gross. It's not too black. So I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna dip a little bit on my finger, and I'm just gonna kind of rub it around the edges. Not a thick coating, just a nice light coating. Like so. On this side. Nice and light. You don't want to goop it on there. Just a real thin layer, just so it gets a better seal. Okay, so there's that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our cap. I'm actually gonna pull this spring out real quick, and I'm gonna quickly just take our towel, just clean it up in there. At least take out most of the oil. You got some on the cap part as well. I'll rub that off. Just kind of clean up the whole thing. That should be good. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw this back on here. It might actually be easier, guys, to put the gasket on like this first and thread your bolts through it, just so the gasket will stay on. Oh, that one almost fell off. Okay guys, so we got our bolts in here. So now what we're gonna do is make sure you put your spring in there first, guys. Just like that. Okay, so now we're gonna put this back on. So I'm gonna thread these couple bolts. Just gonna thread them in a little bit. And then I'll put the other two in since they fell out while I was readjusting the spring. This bolt down here, guys, is kind of a pain with the foot peg being in the foot brake being in the way. So it's kind of a pain to work around that unless you got a smaller socket. But just gotta make sure your other holes are lined up. Still, Definitely doesn't make it easy when your gloves are slippery from the oil. There we go. Just gonna get these ones on finger tight. Grab the other two, make sure there's no debris on them. We'll throw these in there. It's like the longest part, guys, putting these bolts back in there. Clean off that one. Then once we get these guys, on, we'll take our ratchet, we'll hook everything back up, and then I believe these ones, if you do have a torque wrench, you torque these ones, I believe it's to 8 foot-pounds. But I can do that later. I'm just gonna get where it feels good to that point. We're not really cranking on it, but it feels nice and snug. Because you don't wanna rip up the threads. All right, so there's that, guys. So we got a new oil filter, new gasket. We got our cap back on. So next thing to do, guys, is to fill it actually back up with oil. So you can see this little glass window down here, guys. So all you're gonna do is take off your oil little plug up there so you can drain in, put in your new oil. And you're gonna watch this glass screen down here because there's little two lines, right? Here's a line and then here's a line on the side. You wanna fill up your oil until it's right in between those lines, and then that means you're good to go. So before we pour the oil in, we are gonna have to put in the oil drain plug. So we're gonna do that now. So we're gonna grab our drain plug right here that we've been using, and this washer does look like it's fine to reuse. I do have a new one anyways right here. So I'm gonna put on the new washer just because it's new. And we're gonna just tighten this back up in there. I don't think I need to show that because you guys should know how to do that at least. Because it's fairly simple. And then I believe the torque settings for this one is it's gotta be torqued to 16 pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can tighten this one pretty tight. Otherwise, 16 pounds. Okay guys, so I just torqued the oil drain plug to 16 pounds. So now it's time to add in our new oil. I believe the Honda CRF250L holds, I think it's 1.6 liters of oil. But we were really just watching for the glass down here for it to be filled up to halfway. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pour in our new oil. Okay guys, so I got her in between the lines now. Just shake that off, set that down. See if I can get the camera in there for you guys to see how that looks exactly. Loosen this up. Come on. Stuck in the tripod right now. All right. So there, as you can see, come on, focus for me, there we go. How it's in between the lines there. So now what you're gonna wanna do, guys, is run your bike for like a minute or two so the oil can go through the filter, recheck the glass, and then just make sure that looks all good. And then remember to make sure all your bolts are tight, guys, otherwise if they're not tight, oil's gonna leak out, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put on that cap up there, right here, and we're gonna start up the bike and just let it run for a minute or two. So you can see there, 1,075 miles. Okay guys, So you can see that there's no oil in between the lines. I don't even see it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop the cap off. We're gonna fill it up again. And then we're gonna let it run for a couple minutes. And after that, guys, you should be fine. So I hope you liked the video. And be tuned for more mods coming to this bike soon. I'm very excited. I got a new seat coming, hand guards, new chain. I got a 13-tooth front sprocket and a 42-tooth rear. So be tuned for the mods, guys. I hope you liked the video and have a nice day.